All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to our Marketing Unacademy Roundtable live discussions. So, we started Roundtable Live. It's an opportunity for us to hear from our alumni, to talk to small business owners. But really, every month on the first Thursday of the month, we try to have a conversation about the topics, about the things that we hear the most from the people that are going through our programs, from our alumni, from different entrepreneurs. So we're trying to keep up on just what our community wants to hear, because that's what this is all about. The Marketing Unacademy, we're about building our community of entrepreneurs and helping you guys fall back in love with your work, love your businesses, and build your communities. This is what it's all about. So if you ever have a topic that you want us to discuss, you can go into our Marketing Unacademy alumni page and leave a comment. Let us know. You can also go to our Marketing Unacademy Facebook page, our public one, and just let us know. You can email me, you can message me, and we'll get it on our list for upcoming round tables. So today's round table live, I'm trying to give it a little bit of time so we can get as many people logged on as possible, because this is a really good week to be a part of what we're doing here. Over and over again in our programs. So we work with small business owners and small communities around Minnesota. It's not easy. It can be lonely. There are challenges to it. There's no doubt. We hear that. We recognize it. One of the things we hear with every program that we do at least once is, well, that won't work here. That won't work here in my small town. I know, but I'm in a small town and I can't do that. And we're here today to challenge that mindset and to challenge that thinking, because we get it. It's hard. We're not saying you know the limitations of your own business, but what we're saying is let's challenge that thinking and look at what we can do, what you can do as a small business owner when you get to do what you want to do and follow your mission, follow your dream, because people like us can do things like this. Your tribe will find you, your people will find you, and they're going to support you. So today's challenge, that won't work here in a small town. Our challenge is, really? Let's talk about it. Are you sure? And what better guest to have on this topic than Miss Elise Sjostrom? Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
All right. Elise Sjostrom, owner of the Redhead Creamery in Bruton, Minnesota. Elise, welcome to the Roundtable Live.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So when I think about this topic, that won't work here in this small town. A few weeks ago, or a few months ago, probably now, I was way up north, and we were visiting some friends. And my friend that I actually used to own the Happy Soul with said, "Hey, I got to bring you to this great little shop. It's in this super small town. You're going to love it." We drove a half hour, 40 minutes to this little town, classic Main Street, small town, Minnesota. You know, there's banks, there's insurance offices, there's different things. There's a dog groomer. And then here in the middle is this little boutique. And we walk inside and it's beautiful. It's handcrafted items. It's really super unique. They have a high-end liquor and wine section to their store. But in the back of the store, what really drew people is this artisan cheese display. And they have cheeses from around the world. And they had a cheese connoisseur standing at the cooler, helping you pick what you wanted. And there is a Redhead Creamery cheese. And now the logo and the branding is super recognizable. And he even said, he's like, "That is a really good cheese." And I kind of said, "Ridiculously good?" I think is what you mean. But here in this small town, this shop, not very big, it was packed with people, super fun to see, super unique location, offering a really unique product. And in it is your product from your creamery right there. And I mean, I see it all over, but it was just a really cool moment. And I thought, look at these guys doing this here, having so much success and supporting small business owners from around the world that are doing kind of the similar things, So Elise, as we get started, as we challenge this concept of that won't work here in this small town, why don't you tell us a little bit about Redhead Creamery, how you got there, and then we're going to go into your location and where you have your business at.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I truly never get sick of people saying where they found our cheese or where they were and they saw our stuff there. So thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So why? So I grew up on the dairy farm that our cheese company is on, and I am number 3 of 4 redheaded daughters. And if you have any history or know anything about agriculture or dairy farming, there's this long-term history of, well, if you don't have any sons, who's gonna keep the farm going? And that's changing a little bit now as we're all diversifying our mindset a little bit. But at the time, I was this middle child who was like, we don't need any brothers, we can do it ourselves.
All right.
And my dad didn't have a choice. He taught us how to do everything. So so I didn't know any different. But I also realized that as redheads, we had this weird magnet of attention that would come at us just because it's weird when you see 4 redheaded girls walking around. That looks weird. So that was something that was always kind of like, there's something different about us, but I didn't fully understand when I was younger. But going back to farming, so my parents basically found this farm site that we live on back in the early 80s, and they actually went cross-country skiing and came across this site, and it was vacant. And
Oh, wow.
they kind of snooped around and just checked everything out and thought, how cool would it be to someday farm here and maybe like let people come and enjoy it with us in some way. And this was before I was even born. And so they kind of forgot about it. And at the time they were renting a dairy farm, and they had someone come up to them and say, hey, I have this farm site I'd like to sell. Would you be interested in the buildings? And they were like, yes, we know exactly what you're talking about. We've already checked it out.
Oh, wow.
So they bought this farm site, and basically they didn't tear everything down by any means, but they've started it all up on their own from scratch. And my dad is the oldest son of 9 children, and thought he was going to dairy farm with his dad on his family farm. And my grandpa thought, you have so many brothers behind you, let's give them a chance. And so my dad had to go out on his own and start up this farm with my mom. And we are now the only dairy farmers of my family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it's kind of bizarre because I have, 8 aunts and uncles and probably 12 great aunts and uncles of that family. There were 13 kids in that family. So it's crazy. Anyways, my parents have this huge heart and passion for agriculture and what they do, and very much instilled that in us. And I loved being able to work with my family, to work with animals, to live in the middle of nowhere and do your thing. And I wanted that. And I didn't know how to do that when I grew up, but I knew I wanted to be part of it. And so I actually went on a 4-H trip my senior year of high school and went to a different dairy farm in central Wisconsin, and they were making cheese on their farm. Okay. And I thought, oh, I could totally do that, and decided that's what I was going to do. So I was 17, went home, I said, we're going to make cheese. And my parents were like, okay, we'll see what happens. You figure it out. And so I studied food marketing in college, worked for a food broker right out of college. And then we ended up moving to Vermont for a few years and Wisconsin for a few years for my husband's job. But I worked in cheese. I found whatever I could to work for different cheese companies and learn from other businesses before bringing it home and doing it myself. So we are in year 9 of...
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm already planning my year 10 party because we have to have one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're hosting people on our farm, letting them see how a legitimate dairy farm works, how cheese is made. We have viewing windows so that you can see it, and a cheese shop so you can sit and enjoy cheese with a glass of fine wine made in Minnesota, or a beer, or even soda, and just really work hard to create a positive experience so that people can enjoy their food and meet the people who are making it, because there's always bad rap on every industry, but food is so personal, and so it means a lot to us to be able to provide that opportunity right on our farm. And so we're excited too that we'll be bringing our own spirits within the next year to the whole mix as well.
Oh my gosh, we have so much to unpack. So, okay, going back through that first question. So, your father grew up on a dairy farm, and you said that now you're the only one still in dairy. So, did the other dairy farms, did they sell out? Did they move locations? Was there nobody interested? Like, my understanding, a small family farm, especially in our times that we're in, it can be really challenging. So, the cheese part of it, how does that kind of compensate in the farm? Like, does it keeps the farm around, right? I mean, how does it all work?
Yeah, so a lot of the farms that my great uncles ran, they're still farms, or they are within, like, a family will buy 2 or 3 farm sites and run the land around it, and so they're still within farming, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
But then how cheese diversifies our business, it's a whole different market, and we're not even in commodity cheese. We are in artisan, high-end cheese. So when milk prices are really low on the commodity side, the cheese company benefits from that because we're not, or, we have a flat rate that we pay the farm for milk regardless, but it helps offset things on different ends. We only use about 12% of our milk for our cheese company, and the rest goes to a co-op that we're part of. And that co-op is very good and very cooperative with us. Mm-hmm. And so not just the cheese keeps our farm afloat, because the milk definitely does.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're providing farm tours and finding other avenues for cash flow, it's really making a difference that we were not originally planning. The farm tours were not part of the plan originally. But just came out of necessity, or people requested it, and is a huge part of our business now.
It's huge. I know we have a few other businesses that have gone through our program, one that I believe is on and watching with us today. But what you said, knowing where your food comes from and knowing the people that are helping to produce it and create it, and especially giving them the opportunity to like see the process. I mean, I've been out to your location. It's absolutely beautiful. And we were there for a curd fest, so we got to like see the cows, and somebody was walking through the barns and kind of showing us how it all worked and stuff. It was so cool. What an awesome opportunity that you're providing. I mean, just in general, it's so cool. And then also, like you said, the cheese viewing window, so you could look down and you can see people doing their work and using the product right there in front of you. It's just, it's so awesome.
Well, and I always think about, what do I like to do and what do I want to learn? And I still remember on Mr. Rogers, the crayon episode, the Crayola, where they show the crayons being made, and it's so cool, and I'll never forget it. But just being able to tour a business and see how things are made, to me, is totally fascinating. So how do we create that for other people so that they can really enjoy and see what we're doing?
Well, you're doing it. I know you're doing it because you just had is it your 5th annual Curd Fest?
Yes.
Your 5th annual Curd Fest, and more than 1,500 people traveled to your location to celebrate. 1,500 people on your farm.
It's pretty cool.
It's so cool. It is so cool. Okay, so now our people might hear that, they had 1,500 people on their farm, but tell us a little bit about the community that your farm is located in.
Yeah, so we are in the middle of nowhere, or the middle of everything. We're in the middle of central Minnesota. We are surrounded by gravel roads, and our nearest town is about 8 miles away, and the freeway is about 16 miles away. So they can really enjoy and see what reference in your head. But 8 miles away, we're really in the middle of nowhere, and a lot of people, and even ourselves, when we first started the idea of wanting to do cheese on our farm, we wondered, how is this going to work? Mm-hmm. And do we have to be in town, or are people going to find us? And, we were asking all those things. But in my mind, I kept thinking, we have to do it here. Because if it's not here, then it's not from our heart. Like, to me, if you're not marketing legitimately who you are, then how fun is that? I'm a terrible liar, and I can't make things sound fluffy if they're not. So I had to talk about what we truly were. And so I just kept pushing that it has to be here. I don't know where else it would be. And I think because of that, people think of our location as a destination. They're taking a trip out to see us. And to be honest, a lot of our neighbors and people who live close to us don't travel here just because we're already within their space and they don't think about taking the time to do it. Versus if you're an hour or 2 hours away, you make it a trip. And we very much appreciate that thought and being able to spend a weekend enjoying rural Minnesota. And we've realized that people need more to do, right?
Yeah.
They want to get out of the city and they want to find cool stuff to do.
Yeah.
And so years ago already, we put together a weekender map of locations of other places people could see.
It's a great idea.
That's drink related or food, whatever. And I think I had 14 locations. That was 5 years ago that we made that first map. This year we made a new one and we have 62 locations.
Oh my
on
gosh.
it. Yeah. And it's so cool. And it's all within about an hour to an hour and a half drive around us, all the places you can go. And so it's just so fun to be within that community of good food and good drink and sharing that with other people.
I love that you said in the middle of nowhere and in the middle of everywhere. Like you're kind of in the middle. It's so true. Okay, now you said that you have people traveling an hour to 2 hours, that you are a destination.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a big part of that is also what you said. If it's not true to you, like you said, love that. I'm not a good liar, so I wanted to make sure that it was like true to me. It was what I love. But that's everything that we say. Love your work, right? When you love your work, you're able to do really great things that feel authentic to you, that keep you excited about the work that you're doing. And I just really respect, Elise, that you put that as a center of your business and what you're doing. Like, because that's, people can feel that, and that's what keeps your passion and keeps everything growing. Like, that's so cool.
Thanks.
And I love that you did it and people are finding you. Like, who are your people? Who are these people that are finding you? What, like, tell us a little bit about those customers or the followers.
Yeah, there's a variety of people. There's the people who have a connection to a dairy farm, whether they grew up on one or their grandparents had a farm and they have this nostalgia of being on their farm or had wanted to do something more with their farm but didn't feel that they had that opportunity. And so they feel this connection to us and enjoy watching us change and grow and seeing that happen through the screen, really, because it's all through social media if they don't come here every day, which they don't. And so there's that customer that we really love and enjoy hearing from. And then there's the people who just really want to connect with something and they are missing that and they have not been out to rural anywhere and they want to see an animal and pet it and they want to taste something good. And so I think a lot of our customers are those people who want good food. They want to feel good about the story behind it and like they're actually helping someone directly. It's not, 10 steps away. You're literally helping us every time you buy a piece of cheese. So I think that is what a lot of our customers feel. And I think a lot of people, we did a Kickstarter campaign in 2013, I think it was, and had 500 backers.
Oh, wow.
And those people alone, I don't even know most of them, but.
And when you said that, I was looking the other day, and at least just on Facebook alone, you have more than 15,000 followers.
We're at 16 now.
16,000 followers and people who are engaging with you. I mean, like you said, people are traveling. I mean, this is like a whole movement right now too, right? To know where your food is coming from and to know, and it's, I don't think it's a fad. I don't think it's anything that's going away. People are being more aware of what they're consuming and what they're feeding their families. And what a cool opportunity even for like a family to come out and see the farm so kids can understand where that food is coming from. And I know one of our other businesses that is doing an ancient grains, I remember in their boot camp, they said people truly don't know where the food is coming from that's on their grocery shelf. And I was kind of mind blown by it because also I grew up in rural Minnesota. Agriculture is a part of our family, or like my family's history and everything else. And I was like, wait, what? And they said, yes, it's all, we need to educate and we need to, people need to know, you know, what you're consuming. So like you said, when you come out to you're consuming ridiculously good cheese. And also you've got the farm experience, but now this 15,000 followers. So what do you think is attracting people to Redhead Creamery? Why do you think it is about you?
I don't know for sure, but I like to think that they just like us. What's interesting, so my husband, Lucas, and I do most of the marketing on here, but my husband does a lot of it as well. And he has a journalism background and is a very good writer and loves writing. And I'm more of a visual, see and do things. So for a while, even especially during COVID, we really just shared what's going on. What are we struggling with? What is happening in our world? And he would write these super long Facebook posts. And I'd be like, I would never read that. And we would get more followers and people interacting because they loved reading it. And I'm like, okay, I guess I was wrong. And so he just kept writing.
It takes both.
Right?
But yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so he just kept writing what's going on. And now as we move into our distillery concept as well, you know, we back and forth, we're like, do we do another Kickstarter campaign or do we just keep rolling with it, or what do we do? And Lucas has very much been sharing the process of the challenges we've gone through with even just being licensed as a farmstead winery distillery instead of a micro distillery and what that means, and just all the differences of everything we've had to go through just to become what we're trying to become. And so people love that and they eat it up and they want, it's almost like real world drama that they get to experience on the other side of the screen that we get to live for them. I don't know.
Well, okay, I agree with that, but also again it goes back to being authentic. People are drawn to authenticity, and that's what you guys do so well. It's very authentic. Now, I think at the end of the year around Christmas time, he sends out like a newsletter that has the report of the year in it. And when I opened it, I was like, "Whoa," because I'm very similar to you. And it was like scroll. But you know what?
What are the highlights?
Yeah, I read the whole thing because it was so well done and it was very honest and informative. And I was thinking that I'm like, wow, he's a really good writer. Like, this is great. Like, it kind of, had all the details and what's coming up. So that being said, and you've kind of hinted towards it. So there's a distillery in your future now too?
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. So the creamery part of our farm is really, I would say it's my baby. The cows are my parents, the cheese is mine. And what I'm really excited about is that Lucas found his. And so when we were living in Vermont, I think it was, or Wisconsin, we read about a distillery in Canada that was making spirits out of whey. And whey is the byproduct of cheese making.
Awesome.
And we thought, how cool would that be if we could do that and just utilize everything? That was 14 years ago that we read about it. And go to like the year before, I think it was 2019, Lucas decided he was just going to start reading up on it more and figure it out. And he took an online course with Oregon State, and we literally have about 60 books in our house dedicated to spirits or milk fermentation or filtration or all the things. And he's read every single one of them and remembers the details. And I'm like, can you please read all my cheese books and recite them to me so that I know what is all in them. So then I think it was a year ago or so, we went to a company in Wisconsin that has filtration systems, and they do pilot projects with companies. And we brought a IBC tote full of whey from making cheese that all of our employees helped hand bucket full so that we could bring this tote to Wisconsin. And we ran it through this filtration system in order to see if a process would work specifically. So whey it takes 10 pounds of milk to make a pound of cheese. So that 9 pounds is liquid whey that is out the door. We feed it to our cows currently, and it has some value to it, but minuscule. And so we wanted to figure out what else we could do with it. So we're bringing our whey to this business. They're filtering it out, and we have lactose going one way and protein going the other. Which the really cool part is that lactose, if cheese, it has like very little to no lactose. So people who are lactose intolerant can eat aged hard cheeses. They might not realize that. Oh. And we can prove that because we have lactose, which is sugar that gets fermented. If we didn't have the lactose, we would not be able to ferment it and create spirits. So it's proof that the lactose isn't in the cheese anymore. But anyways.
Interesting. Okay.
Off a soapbox for a little bit.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, but so we're filtering out lactose. It's this molecule that we need to split in order to ferment. So we have it filtered away from the protein. The protein can be a byproduct that goes to the cows, or we're learning we can make like a caramel sauce with that protein, which we might end up doing. So then the lactose, we add lactase, and that breaks it into glucose and galactose.
Okay.
The glucose gets a yeast added to it. It ferments in about 5-ish days, and then it goes through a still, and it is like a clear spirit.
So it is just a clear spirit. It's not like it's not vodka. It's not gin. It's something.
It's Araga is the technical term.
Araga?
Yes.
So you will have an Araga distillery?
Yeah.
That is so cool.
So we're like, our dream world is going to cheese conferences and spirit conferences, and like we're creating it.
Sounds great. That sounds great. You are creating your own destiny here.
Yeah.
Now the distillery is underway. You have construction happening at your site. So just so people kind of have a visual, so at your site, there's the farm, like it's your guys' place. There's the farm, the dairy farm with the cows and the barn and everything, and then kind of off to the right, you have a shop, restaurant. You can walk inside. It's super cute. It has a big porch on it. You can go to a cheese counter. They have, you have like some sandwiches. You have crackers. You have like some charcuterie board sort of things. There's beer. There's pop. There's wine. And then on the far wall, there's a big window where you can look down and see everything. So now where that cheese counter is kind of behind that, is that where we're adding in the distillery?
Yeah, the current kitchen will end up being a hallway into our new space, and we'll be expanding our kitchen so it'll be the right size to make all the things we want to make. So we'll have more of a restaurant, and then we'll be adding a bar and then seating for up to about 99 people.
Oh, so my goodness.
Our goal is to fit 2 tour buses so they can actually sit.
Elise, that's so incredible. Okay, so that won't work here in this small town. I think we are definitely challenging the concept here. You are building a restaurant for 99 people to accommodate tour buses to travel to your location. And you said this earlier when we were talking about your origin story, but like you were saying, this is a high-end product. Mm-hmm. This is not just cheese. This is artisan cheese, which is a high-end product. So when we're talking about your price, and we often hear this from our small businesses as well, I can't charge that. I'm in a small town. Like, I can't do that. Nobody's going to pay for it. So when you decided to do this high-end cheese and your price point, which is incredibly important, what's some of the feedback that you've gotten? Like, why do you feel that price is important, and why did you end up on a high-end product like that?
Well, I wanted to think about, who am I comparing myself to in the cheese counter? Where do I want to see my product out in the world? And I don't want to see my cheese at Walmart. And I don't want to see it at the Dollar General. Like, that's not my market by any means, or we'd be out of business. So I looked at the prices of other cheeses at specialty counters where I felt ours would compare to. I looked at their prices and I said, that's what our price will be. And that's what I did at first. And we did get pushback even from our distributor when we first started. They're like, that might be a little high, but we'll give it a try. And especially with our cheese curds, because cheese curds are a fresh product that for us, it's cash flow. You need something that moves as soon as it's made, because a lot of our cheese ages for months and we can't make any money off of it until it sells.
Yeah.
So we had to sell cheese curds. And so we charged what we felt we needed in order to stay in business. And we're still here. And there's a few companies that actually have unfortunately gone out of business that charged less than we did. And I don't know if it's because of their prices, but I felt like, take that. I needed to charge it, and it's still there. And I might not be selling as much as other companies, but that's not the point. We don't want everyone to have it if they don't want it just because they could afford it. And so we want people to want our product and to have to find it and to pay for it, because it's just what we need. And I'm actually learning now that our cheese is on the lower end of specialty cheese pricing. And so it's like, ugh, now I got to look at that again. And I hate that. But you also realize once you do change your prices, and you don't even always have to explain why. People are like, yeah, everyone else is. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
Need that. Our expenses are higher. Everyone's are. And so you got to do it. Otherwise, you won't stay in business.
Thank you so much for explaining that and doing it so well, because that's something that we talk about a lot. Pricing is a huge part of small business ownership and what you're offering. And I think that valuing your item where it needs to be, it also tells a story about the item that you're purchasing, right? It's a special, I know that this is a special item, and I get it. And I'm willing to pay for it. But we've also talked about so pricing is, yes, it's marketing. Yes, it's explaining the value of your items, but we don't want to be a business that's just trying to price as low as we can to make it. Like we say, don't make yourself a martyr. Like, don't price yourself so low that you have to go out of business. Like, people want you to be here. They're willing to pay for a product that, that helps you, that helps them. It's just, it works out well. So I think kudos to you. Well done. And yeah, review the prices and do what you got to do, because we want you to stick around, and that's just part of it, right? I think Seth Godin had a saying that telling people about your low price, when you're talking about price, it just means you have nothing left to say. Like if you're just trying to be the lowest price, then you really don't have anything else to talk about. And that's not great either. You have so much more than that. Yes.
Sounds boring.
Yeah, sounds boring. That doesn't sound like loving your work, right? Yeah. So when you're talking about all these things that you're doing, and now I'm sure you're hearing it again, and you heard it before, and we've all heard it. Tell us about some of the naysayers. Tell us about some of the people that said, yeah, that won't work here, Elise. What are you thinking?
Yeah. My parents actually heard more of it than I did, because they were at retirement age technically when we came and wanted to create really an additional business on site. And they had friends and family telling them, what are you thinking? You could retire. Why would you want to start all over again? And my parents felt like, why wouldn't we? And I mean, retirement age is not that old, and you got a long life to live yet. Mm-hmm. So luckily, they don't regret wanting to start it, and wanted to continue to do something fun and challenging. And so, yeah, that was a lot of my parents, neighbors, and friends. But I also had employees for a while who were nervous about the rate that we were growing and what we talked about and where we saw ourselves going. And that wasn't for them. And that's okay. And that was a challenging time for all of us to cope with and realize. But we're all the better now that we've continued to move on and keep going. And the good and the bad is that when those types of people push back, it makes you question yourself and wonder, well, do I want that? And is that where I am supposed to go? But then I remember I have to, or there's no way we can pay our loan off. Like, you have to think of reality and going back to pricing. You know, it's, people like to use the word sustainable, like this beautiful word, and it is, but money is like number one. If you can't cash flow and make money, then what's the point? I don't have a bank reserve that will back me up, so I have to keep going.
Right.
And so I'm not afraid or ashamed to say that. That's a huge part of what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and good for you. And you said something in there too that I think is an important little nugget, that oftentimes it's your friends and it's your family, and especially in a small town, those are the people who are questioning what you're doing. And the effect that that can have on you is it sucks your joy, man. It takes away some of that passion that you could be putting out into the world about what you're going to be doing. And unfortunately, it does kind of make you feel a little bit more reserved. And that is so harmful, right? And it's so backwards to me too, because as a small town and in small communities, we want people to take, like, if you've got a passion, you've got a business idea, let's do it. That's what builds our communities up. And yeah, I know people do it. And I think just the advice is keep moving forward, keep tapping into that passion. And like you said, you gotta just look beyond it and know what you're doing.
Or get someone to help you look beyond it, because there are times when you can't and you're stuck, and finding a therapist or a family member that will help get you through it is totally necessary.
Oh, totally necessary. All right, so now when you said that, now I gotta know what keeps Elise up at night. What are you think? I mean, you got so many things happening in your life. You've got 3 kids. You're on the family dairy farm. Parents are close by. You've got your own business. You're starting a new business. And the cheese business too has so many different elements to it. Like, you're in huge grocers, you're in small boutique artisan shops, you're going to festivals and fairs. You have the catering side of your business where you will set up amazing grazing boards for people. I mean, there's so, you have the restaurant as part of the creamery. Like, there's a lot. How do you keep it all straight? What are you worried about right now?
I don't keep it all straight. What keeps me up at night is my 3-year-old, and listeria. Food safety is huge, especially on our farm. And being on a farm alone is a risk because there is manure everywhere. So we have to be extremely careful about where our feet go and how often we're washing our hands and all of those things. And so really keeping our team informed and continually learning with us and helping us keep everything moving and functioning. I do not do it alone. And I thought at first that I could with my mom and that we were going to be the only 2. And then I wanted to have a 3rd child and realized that is not possible nor sustainable to be the only cheesemaker. And so we've made a lot of changes. We're a lot different than what I even imagined or dreamed we would be. And it's for the good. But I thrive on a lot happening. If we are stagnant and not much is going on, I get lazy and tired and I don't do anything, and I'll get stuck in that and I won't want to do anything. And so I have to keep new things coming. I have to look forward to something new. I have to keep everybody excited with us, and somehow that is just how I thrive. It stresses my mom out sometimes, but she likes it too. So it works with us.
Well, it kind of sounds like you're a great entrepreneur. I mean, you know, we hear that a lot with our entrepreneurs too. It's like maybe they'll start something and then all of a sudden they start another thing, and it just kind of keeps growing, right? And that's what keeps you excited about what you're doing, and it's working for you.
Thanks.
It's working for you. Yeah, you've got so many moving parts. What is it like working with family?
It's pretty awesome. And even all those moving parts, that's why we can do it, because there's four of us owners, my parents and my husband and I, that we are all very unique from each other, and we all have our skills that help keep this stuff floating. And so because of that, I mean, it took a while for us to all understand how to share information with each other, or share different news, good or bad, and how to word that so that we don't either hurt someone's feelings or whatever. And we're getting a lot better at it 10 years later. But the fact that you have someone that gets you and you can lean on, and you don't have to explain yourself every single minute, is so great, and helps you keep moving and helps keep your excitement and joy going. And even just having my parents here and raising 3 kids is why that works too. Like, suddenly someone's sick and you got to go pick someone up, so my mom will run out, or we make it happen. And it's kind of fun when you can make it all work.
Yeah, that is really fun. That's pretty cool. And I think that, I'm sure the communication part of it is really big. It takes time to figure out, but as long as everybody can, get their feedback in, that's pretty cool. You have a really neat thing happening.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
It's good to be reminded too. I mean, it's easy to start taking stuff for granted, and you just keep functioning, and then it's like, oh, this is bizarre.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
Thanks.
What are some of the advantages of owning a business in a small and rural community, in a small town or a rural community?
I've never been asked it that way. I think an advantage is just the excitement you can build, because people love when new things are going on. And so if you keep sharing what you have going on, or the help you're looking for, or any of those things, that gets people excited. They love when new things are happening. Even with like our Curd Fest that we have every year, we get 30 to 40 volunteers, and a lot of them are family and friends, but we do have some local friends that just want to be part of something big. And that's really inspiring to see them even want to be part of it.
Yeah, and they want to be a part of what you're doing. That's so cool. Again, it's that authenticity piece, and seeing people, you love what you do, and people just, they just go to that. It's like a magnet. Yeah. All right. Well, so now we know about some of your future plans. When is this distillery going to be opening up?
It's like the question of the year.
Okay. Okay.
I would love if by Christmas time you could come and sit and have a drink, or be in our new space. I don't know for sure. I mean, they put one framed wall up yesterday, so it all depends on timing, and if we can get the plumbing approved, and then they can bore the floor. Like, everything is a step, but I would think that by Christmas time we're in that new building.
And what kind of spirits we'll be able to have when we come into the location? What are we going to be able to have? Like, what's going to be served?
Yeah, so Araga will be like our base alcohol, and it's you can compare it to like a vodka, but it's not quite as high alcohol. And with vodka, the goal is always to be flavorless, and we want there to be some flavor, so it won't be quite like that. But like, we can mix drinks, and we're learning what my dad likes, and I'm always trying to figure out how to cater to his clientele a little bit, because we will be doing some convincing of people, but we'll also be catering to the people who already know what they like. And so it'll be we're doing some experimenting and figuring out what we will make. They'll be simple but good tasting drinks that we like, because then we know they'll like it.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm expecting like a really fun vibe, unique flavors, Sure, you have some of the classics, but you're going to have some really great handcrafted something delicious.
Yes,
that pairs
totally.
perfectly with cheese.
Obviously.
When you're looking at yourself, you're almost 10 years into your business. What are you really proud of yourself for? Like, what's something that you've done maybe in the past, or maybe that you're doing now, that you're really proud of?
Hmm. I would say having taught a new cheesemaker to make cheese, and then we actually ended up winning more awards after he was making cheese, and I felt like, cool. At first you could almost feel like, well, I didn't make that. But the fact that I was able to teach someone from scratch, and he's literally teaching someone else starting this week to make cheese as well, that is a really cool feeling on that side of things.
That's really cool.
I'm also really I love that my kids are excited about it. And because I always thought my kids would grow up like I did. They'd be feeding the baby calves and they'd be out working in the barn, and they'd spend little time doing that except during around our county fair, because we show cattle for 4-H. My 10-year-old is checking out people at the cash register, and my 7-year-old is putting labels on cheese. They're doing stuff and they're excited about it and they want to go do it. And that's really cool. I always worried about my kids resenting my job because I spent so much time at it. And so it was always my goal to make them not hate it. And so far it's working.
Oh my gosh, Elise, that's another thing that we hear so often too is, especially young entrepreneurs that have young children, they're so worried about that. And I think what you just said is extremely valuable. Getting your kids excited about what you're doing, and their eyes are watching you. It's inspiring. They're seeing you do something really cool that you created, and that's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, and they want to be part of it. They want to create stuff too. And I've even learned, my oldest is an extrovert, and my second is very outgoing, but he does not want to be around crowds. And it took us a little time to figure out, well, what could you do to help? Because he did not want to clear tables, because then he had to deal with people. And so we realized, you could help put stickers on sheets and, put stuff away, and perfect.
Perfect.
There was time of figuring that out too, what I need done versus what they want to do, and having to figure that all out. But it's worth figuring it out.
It's okay. And that goes for kids, but it goes for staff and employees and everything else too, right? Feed into what they're interested in, because then that helps them just roll. And your cheesemaker, that was a great thing to be proud of. What a huge step for you to, share that with somebody, and then for it to go so well. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to hand off what you feel like isn't yours unless you're doing it. And to let someone else do it. But I had to. And then now it's all right, I'm so glad I did.
Yes.
now I can do other things. I can go do 18 tastings.
I was going to say, now you're going to be
at central Minnesota.
Every winery, brewery, everywhere you could possibly go this summer. If you go on Elise's Facebook page, and it's probably on your Instagram as well, but they, on Redhead Creamery on Instagram and Facebook, she posts where she's going to be, different festivals that they're going to be at, different wineries, breweries that they're going to be at. I know on your website, you also have a spot where you can see the different stores where you guys are located. As I mentioned, you do grazing boards and events, which are whenever we've only done a few here at Red Star, but when we do them, everybody's like, wow, this is amazing. And it's fantastic as well. I know that at the shop, you guys do dinners and meals. Is that still a thing too?
We're not currently, but as we expand and once we get into our new space, that definitely will be opening up again.
And what did I miss anywhere else that your cheese is available, or how to get your hands on some Redhead Creamery cheese?
Well, you can ship it worldwide. I mean, not worldwide, but we can ship it nationally pretty easily. And we've pretty much have that down to a science. So you can order on our website and we can ship anywhere across the country.
Well, and on this year, and maybe you've done this past years, but I really only noticed it this year, but at the holiday season, you did the advent calendar of cheese, and I thought that was brilliant. So every day you open up a new day and there's a cheese inside.
That was our first year, and it went extremely well. And it was a partnership between my friend Milkmaid Catering in Fargo and I, and we're already working on this year's. We have it half figured out already, I think, so that we can market it again. But people loved it. And
well, it's so fun.
making pairings of really cool artisan-made products around the country with cheese. So it's a cool calendar.
That is really cool. Okay, so we have a lot of small businesses, small towns, small rural communities who think that won't work here where I am. What advice or what words would you like to give to help them challenge that?
I would say figure out how to get people here and don't expect that your neighbors are your customer, and find reasons for people to come to see you and others around you. I think what has benefited for us is building partnerships and relationships with other makers around us, because there's no one else making cheese around here, but there are beer makers and wine makers and bakeries and other small specialty stuff that we're in that same world. Our customers are the same. And so how do we work together to make things happen and get people out here to see and do what we're looking for? And it's very possible. And in the world of the internet and social media, everyone can find you. And so taking advantage of that is huge.
Very well said. Yeah, very well said. So if you didn't feel challenged by the mindset earlier, feel challenged now. There's a ton of opportunity. And I think you're right. Partnerships and being true to who you are and doing what you love to do. So that brings me to my next question, Elise. Why do you love your work?
I really love doing things physically and having something to show for it, and then sharing it with people and seeing a smile on people's face. I just think that's the coolest thing. And even like last night, in preparation for one of our cheese and wine pairings, our whole team sat outside and drank wine and ate cheese. And it was like, who wouldn't want to do this for their work? So being able to share with people why food can be fun and good is just a really cool part of my life.
It is a really cool part of your life, and you do it so well. Thanks. You said that about your team. Can you let us know the size of your team right now that you guys have out there?
Yeah, there's four or five full-time and about 8 part-time employees.
Wow.
Yeah, I never thought I was going to have, I thought I'd maybe have 2. Just very unrealistic.
No way, man. You're making things are happening. Things are happening. What other advice do you have for a small business owner or somebody who maybe wants to start their own business or small business? Is there any advice that you'd give them as they're looking at starting?
I always love explaining the fact of like just sharing, telling people, this is what I want to do. I mean, even when we lived in Vermont and Wisconsin and I worked at cheese companies that, most people would feel like, I don't want to say the wrong things so I don't get fired. But I was always like, someday I'm going to do this myself. So if you can teach me something so that I already have it figured out, that'd be great. And I think people are so afraid to say the wrong thing, and they're actually grateful that you are interested and you want to learn, and you're going to do a better job at your work because it is sincerely what you want to do. So I think it is so important to share with people and tell them what you want. I still have high school classmates who are like, I remember when you said you were going to make cheese, and here you are. So you just have to talk about it. And if you don't, it won't happen. But I think sharing it with people is huge.
Oh, man, that was a golden nugget right there. I think that you're absolutely right. Elise, is there anything else that you want to share with us that's going on at Redhead Creamery, about where we can find you, what you're up to?
I think we said most of it. I would love for people to pay attention to when we can open our distillery, and we'll be able to host even like meetings and conferences and that kind of thing. So I'm really excited to start booking and planning that kind of stuff. But yeah, I am just so grateful for you guys and for this opportunity, and um, just being able to share with people is very inspiring, and it helps me even reflect back on my own self, and that's important too, to be able to realize, oh yeah, this is pretty cool.
This is really cool. This is really cool. Yeah. I think you're right. I would just from us to you, totally respect what you're doing. It's so cool. It's so fun to see you grow throughout the years. I mean, I remember when you first opened it and we were in New London. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. She's gonna open a creamery. That girl's awesome. Good for her. And like now seeing you here, it's like, yeah, you're just gonna keep going. Nothing can stop you. And I really respect the love of the work that you have. I really, really appreciate that you guys are so authentic to who you are, and you've consistently stayed that way. Even as you've grown, you are your true selves. And it's really cool that people will find you and they love seeing what you're doing. So congratulations on the new building too.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Elise. We will be in touch very soon. Good luck with your day. Good luck with your distillery. I hope that it goes smoothly and that we can come up there this winter and enjoy.
Cool. I would love that.
I
Thank
would
you.
too. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Elise. Enjoy your day. And thank you for sharing with us.